Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the legendary Saiyan and got harem? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time, let's get into the video. As Naruto flew towards the island, it got bigger and bigger until he saw the jagged rocky edges of the large landmass. The energy signatures are stronger now that I'm so close to the island. Naruto says to himself as he flew over the forest part of the island and descends towards the ground while his aura dissipates. After landing, he walks around the forest in a careful manner since he is in unknown territory. Man, this forest reminds me of the one Enko-chan showed me once when I was 6. He commented before his senses alerted him and then leapt out of the way as a large appendage swung down at the area he was formerly at. Naruto landed back onto the ground in a fighting stance to see what it was that attacked him, and his eyes widened as he saw a giant gorilla roaring at him and then rearing back, beating on his chest. "Whoa, now that's something you don't see every day," Naruto commented and noticed the beast growling at him and then attempt to lunge at him. "Whoa, easy big guy, I'm not looking for trouble." Naruto assures the gorilla, who stops his lung and stared down at Naruto before getting on all fours and leaning down before the sheepish blonde. Sorry for spooking you like that, buddy." Naruto apologized before the giant ape blinks a few times and then sniffs Naruto a few times and notices the monkey tail before scratching the top of his head in confusion. "Ooh." The giant gorilla grunted out. "The name's Naruto. What kind of name would suit you?" Naruto pondered in this before smiling. "I know. I'll name you Kong. What do you think?" The Super Saiyan asked the now named Kong, who pondered on the name before grinning and nodding. "Great, Kong it is then." Kong grunted in acknowledgement before bringing his fist forward before Naruto and said blonde was confused at the gesture before realizing what he was doing. "Oh, that's your sign of wanting to be friends." Naruto did the same gesture before bumping fists with the large ape, who grunts in an excited fashion until they both heard what sounded like a female screaming. "What was that?" Naruto wondered before Kong's eyes widened and took off. "Hey Kong, wait up." He cried out before leaping onto a tree branch and hopping from each one before Kong stopped in his tracks and Naruto lands before giant ape. Before their eyes was what appeared to be a female, and from the looks of it was around 14 years old. She had blonde hair and blue eyes that were cat-like with a thin slit in each of them and had a slender build. Her hair was tied into a braided ponytail and her outfit consisted of a gray and white shirt that hugged her body with a pair of black pants and purple sandals, and strapped to her belt was a weapons pouch, and right now she was fighting a giant bear that was standing on its rear legs and bellows at her with a roar before bringing his giant paw at her. The girl manages to leap away as the paw slammed down on the area she was formerly at. She landed down and the bear rushes at her again. The female blonde gets into a fighting stance with her nails extending and turning into claws while the violet-blue chakra surrounded her form. She getting prepared to attack only for Naruto to appear over the giant bear's head with his right leg raised and brings it down, delivering a falling axe kick to the bear's skull, knocking him to the ground and causing the area to tremble from the strength behind the attack. The teenage girl's eyes bugged out and her jaw dropped to the ground as she saw the mysterious blonde appear out of nowhere, who appeared to be around her age, and knock the bear out. Kong clapped his hands with glee as he saw Naruto knock the bear out while the blonde lands back on the ground with his duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "Hope I didn't hit the fella too hard," he muttered before turning his attention to his fellow blonde and wave in a cheerful fashion. "Yo." Naruto greeted. Before she had a chance to say something, several more bears leapt out of the forest and towards Naruto, who looked up to see the large body masses descend towards his person and land on top of him. The girl's eyes widen in horror as the bears pile on the blonde until something that even she couldn't believe happened. The 7 giant bears were lifted into the air by one hand, courtesy of the golden-haired Super Saiyan. "Sorry fellas, but I don't have time to sumo wrestle with you all," Naruto states to the stumped bears before slowly rising into the air, causing the other two's eyes to widen to the size of dinner plate and pointed him as he took off into the air. A few minutes later, Naruto descended back into the area Kong and the girl were in. "Hey, are you alright?" Naruto asked the girl, who was simply sputtering and looking at him comically. Naruto blinked a few times before rubbing the back of his head, smiling. "I take that's your first time seeing someone fly, right?" Said girl snapped out of her stupor and suddenly appeared in Naruto's personal space. "How in the name of Kami did you do that? The only person who was able to knock out a giant bear of that size was my sensei and his brother, and how can you fly?" Wouldn't it be better if we introduce ourselves first?" "Name's Son Naruto, but just call me Naruto." The girl blinkies a few times before smiling sheepishly. "Sorry, the name's Yugito Nii, so how did you fly anyway?" she asked again, getting a sweat drop from Naruto. Talk about getting straight to the point. Naruto thought. "Well, I learned how to fly from my sensei and trust me, it's not that easy to learn," he answered before Kong walked towards the two. Yugito then noticed a golden brown appendage swing behind Naruto's back, which happened to be his tail, which got her attention. Is that a tail?" An astonished Yugito asked Naruto, who gazed at his tail and nodded. "Yeah, that's my tail," he answered back as it swayed around some more. "Howie?" Yugito squealed in her mindscape before realizing something. "Wait, how did you find this island anyway? It's protected by a powerful barrier, and even if you flew here, you would have been detected by your chakra signature," she stated as she looked at Naruto in a suspicious manner. "Oh? This island is surrounded by a barrier because I didn't sense anything emitting from it. Plus I didn't use chakra to fly, I used a different form of energy called Kai," Naruto answered back. "Kai? I've never heard of it. Is it like a Kage Genkai?" she asked. "No, like chakra, it's an energy that lies deep within a person, with the difference being that Kai is more versatile and any can awaken it, unlike chakra which you have to awaken when you're at a certain age," he explained to Yugito. "Aside from that, the reason I'm on the island is because I sense two powerful energy signatures coming from it, and from the looks of it the first one is very close," Naruto said as he looked around the area. Yugito on the other hand tenses up when she heard him say that he sensed the chakra of her tenant, the Nibi no Bakaneko, two-tailed cat monster, and said Biju's eyes widened as she realized that earlier this boy was the one responsible for that energy output she felt back when the skies darkened. That boy's power is on par with a Biju. I highly doubt that even Yugi-chan could take him on, even if she manages to master my tailed form. Hachibi might be able to inflict some damage, but even then, he'd still lose," she thought. It's gone now, but I can still sense the stronger form of energy, if only slightly." Naruto then looked back at Yugito before realizing something. "Hold the phone, Goku-sensei, earlier when I landed the energy output from one of the Biju had a secondary energy signature, right?" "Yep, it sure did, Naruto. I was able to sense the secondary output and Yugito matches it," Goku answered back, and Naruto's eyes widened since he knew what this meant. "She's a Jinchuriki just like Mito-chan," Naruto realized. "Say, Yugito, by any chance are you a vessel?" he wondered and noticed her tensing up. "What makes you think I am?" she asked with an edged tone in her voice before he brought his hands up. "Whoa, easy, I'm not gonna attack you or anything, I was just wondering because I can sense a secondary source of energy from within you," he answered back. Yugito looks at him in a skeptic manner before calming down. "To answer your question, yes, I am a vessel. Why, are you one as well?" she asked the blonde, who shook his head. "No, but someone close to me is," he answered as Mito's image appeared in his thoughts. "I see, but tell me this, Naruto-kun." She blushed slightly from the suffix she used before shaking it off. "What are you doing on the island in the first place? This is a training ground that the ninja from Kumo use, and even then no one less at the level of a Jonin or Anbu enters the island due to its dangers," she wondered. He was about to say something before his senses went on full alert and leapt back as a thin double-edged short sword covered in lightning chakra descended past his cheek, slightly nicking the side of his face. What the Naruto wondered before a vicious clothesline to the chest sent him flying through several trees and the forest. "Bariado, lariat," the figure cried out, and it landed in front of a surprised Yugito. The person had dark skin and a muscular build, as well as blonde white hair and a goatee. On his right shoulder, he has a tattoo of the kanji for iron, Tetsu, and on his left cheek, he has a tattoo of a bull's horn. His top lip also has a slightly darker hue than his bottom one. Over his eyes were a pair of oval-shaped sunglasses and a white-colored forehead protector, and wore a one-strap over one shoulder flak jacket, a long red rope belt tied around his waist, standard hand and shin guards, shinobi sandals, and a white scarf around his neck, as well as carried 7 swords on his back. "Take that, Tsuragaki, monkey brat, for no one on assaults the deshi of the all-powerful Hachibi Jinchuriki Karabi. Wee." Killer Bee rapped as he raised his right arm up, doing a hand gesture where his index and pinky fingers stuck out in a horn fashion, while his middle and ring finger as well as his thumb were curled up in his palm. Yugito managed to snap out of her stupor and then drop kicks the man in the back of his head but doesn't budge from it. "Karabi-sensei, you baka. What is wrong with you?" Said man turned his head at his mad apprentice with a confused expression on his face. "What's the deal, yo?" he asked while Yugito's brow twitched. "What's the deal? You attack Naruto-kun for no apparent reason. Do you ever think before you act?" Shed yelled at the man who simply scratched his chin with his index finger. "Who the hell is Naruto?" He was cut off from his sentence due to the fact that he was struck across the face by a duffel bag and lands on his back. "I'm Naruto," the Super Saiyan answered as he walked out of the forest completely unharmed, twirling the man's blade in his hand. "What the hell's your problem? You just don't go around attacking people for no apparent reason, you bull-headed jerk." Yugito on the other hand sweat dropped at his response, as did Nibi. Naruto then simply flicked the blade which landed beside Karabi with the blade embedded on the ground. "Nice sword, by the way." Whoever forged it was incredibly skilled and sharpened the blade's edges to the point where it could easily cut through stone. Yugito's sweat drop grew as he said that. Is he serious? Sensei just lariats him through several trees and he walks out of it without a bruise or scratch on him. She thought. B on the other hand sat up rubbing the left side of his face. Ow. I actually felt that yo. He threw that bag with just raw strength. This kid is no pushover. Kurabi yelled thought while the Hachibi snorted. No shit baka. If could do that with a simple bag, imagine what he could do if he had thrown a tree at you. The hybrid-tailed beast commented. My bad yo. Didn't know if you were friend or foe and big bro would have my head if anything had happened to our niece Yugito. Kurabi apologized as he dusted his pants off, not noticing the tick mark appearing on Yugito's head. Naruto blinks owlishly for a few seconds as did his teachers. He's an odd one. Shenron commented while Goku chuckles. I'll say he kinda reminds me of the Grand Kai minus being old and all. Goku replied and they witnessed the man approaching Naruto and brought his fist forward with a grin on his face. So are ye cool you fool? Kurabi asked. Naruto noticed the gesture was the same one Kong used earlier and then brought his fist forward as well and they both tapped knuckles. Yeah, we're cool. So you must contain the stronger of the two Biju since you did mention the Hachibi right? Naruto asked the shades-wearing sword user who nodded with a proud grin on his face. That's right yo, me and 8th-O are the dynamic duo of Kumo. He states, not noticing Yugito who was slumping her shoulders and hanging her head in defeat. Why Kami? Why do you torment me so? It's bad enough having a short-tempered uncle, but a rapping one at that. She thought with tears streaming down her face. The oxyphalopod on the other hand was banging his head on the floor repeatedly. Make the rapping stop. The 8 tails wailed in the man's train of thought. Naruto on the other hand simply rubbed the back of his head in confusion and wonder due to the fact that he always ended up meeting the strangest people in his travels. So after that little event Kurabi decided to head back to his vacation home in the forest and welcomed Naruto to stay as his guest until he decided to leave. A week later. Naruto was in the middle of the forest, meditating in the lotus style, while Kong was snoring a few feet away from him. He remained calm and relaxed in his state and that was when Yugito leapt out of the trees and landed in front of him. She frowned when she noticed that he didn't jump out of his state in surprise and huffs before sitting cross-legged in front of him with her arms folded. Said Saiyan was chuckling inwardly as he knew the vessel of the two-tailed Nico always tried to go out of her way to try and scare him, but sadly nothing worked. Despite that, throughout the week Naruto and Yugito got to know each other, but only on a friendship level, even though she would blush a little due to the fact that she saw him exercising without a shirt on and was even shocked beyond belief when she saw him easily out-wrestle the giant animals of the forest, especially when he encountered Kong's father King. The one person that intrigued Naruto the most was mostly Kurabi. Despite his antics, Kurabi was a very powerful ninja even when he didn't use his partner's powers and proved by sumo wrestling several bears simultaneously and come out on top, but what impressed Naruto the most was the man's sword style, which consisted of him using several swords that were interlocked around the most bizarre parts of his body, but despite that, he was still able to use this form in a mixture of a defensive and offensive pattern that was extremely unpredictable. He also learned that Yugito was learning how to fully synchronize with Anibi in order to use her power at the fullest by not only conquering her dark side and negative feelings but also facing Nibi in her mindscape. Kurabi had to go through the same situation with the Hachibi and in the end succeeded and therefore had developed a partner for life. Naruto was wondering if it would be possible for Mito to harness the abilities of the vixen on this island but decided to save that for later. Kurabi on the other hand was beyond impressed with the Super Saiyan in both his skills and personality and had to admit Naruto was a very intriguing person. What impressed the man the most was his physical strength and his speed as he had also seen Naruto outmatch the animals in the forest in terms of raw strength rather easily and knew he wasn't using chakra to supplement his strength. He knew from the way Naruto carried himself that he must have trained extremely hard to gain his current level of speed and strength and wondered between him and his brother who would be the better. So after seeing him train and using 10-ton weights with little effort, he decided that he was gonna test the kid's skill out by the end of the week. Are you sure you want to go through with that B? Hachibi asked his enthusiastic vessel who was sitting on his muzzle. You bet yo. Kurabi answered back. I figure you would you baka, he muttered though you have to admit, something about that kid is off especially his level of strength. Kurabi raised a brow from behind his shades and looks down at the hybrid. Such as? Kurabi wondered. His energy for one thing, it is similar to chakra, but isn't either, it's a lot more free-flowing and can actually be seen. Human chakra cannot be seen unless it's condensed into a physical form like the Yondai Maze Rasengan or the chakra cloak of a vessel. From what I theorize, he's using a more advanced form of energy it continues to grow the more he trains. Hachibi explained to the rapping ninja. Well, when you put it that way, the kid's energy signature is odd, but hey, the killer bee is ready for anything, oh yeah. He stated, while Hachibi sweat drops. If I'm lucky, the Gaki will kill us by accident and I'll be free from this Baka and his accursed Enka. The hybrid thought and prayed. The next day. The flabbergasted Yugito was looking at Naruto like he had lost his mind. The reason for that is because her sensei Killer Bee had Naruto to a one-on-one fight so that he could measure up the blonde skills, which Naruto agreed upon instantly due to the fact that he would get to face someone who was possibly even stronger than Yugura was. Naruto, are you nuts? You actually want to fight Karabi-sensei? Do you want to die? She asked frantically while the young Super Saiyan was doing a few stretches. We're just having a simple spar, Yugito-chan. Besides, if I ever want to get better, I have to face stronger opponents. He stated as he did a few one-armed handstand push-ups. Yugito on the other hand still didn't look convinced. But he's the strongest ninja in Kumo, second to his brother, and that's even when he doesn't use the power of the Hachibi. She tried to get through to him. Really? Wow, he must be a real powerhouse then if he doesn't rely on the power of his Biju. Naruto wondered before a grin formed on his face. I can't wait to face him and the Hachibi. Hopefully I'll have to actually try then when I face the Sanbi. He hoped, unaware that Yugito's eyes bugged out when she heard him say he fought and defeated the three-tailed turtle. You beat a Biju? No way. She shouted in disbelief. No lie, Yugito-chan. I fought the Sanbi and the vessel and beat them both. He said in an honest tone while rolling his right arm clockwise. Yugito on the other hand blinked a few times and could tell by the look in his eyes that he was telling the truth. So do you think you could beat the Hachibi? She questioned the young Super Saiyan who was doing a few arm stretches and relaxes his posture. He thinks about it for a few seconds and simply shrugs. Honestly, I don't know. He answered back to the female blonde. I mean, Sanbi was the only Biju I've fought so far and I have no idea how strong the Hachibi is, but I'm pretty sure he's no pushover, especially if B is his container. Naruto then smiled sheepishly and looked up the sky. But I'm pretty positive I'll have some difficulty fighting the guy, but hey, if he is stronger than me that just means I'll just have to up my training then. Yugito was stumped at how jovial Naruto was acting. Anyone who could go toe-to-toe with a Biju and live would have boasted about it, but Naruto was entirely different. She knew firsthand that Naruto was stronger than her even when they sparred during the week, but despite that, Naruto would only encourage her to spar with him more and even complimented her on her progress. Besides, everyone loses in a fight every now and then, so if your sensei does beat me then it's no big deal. He answered back with a smile on his face. Yugito couldn't help but blink owlishly at Naruto before smiling. You know what? You're okay in my book, Naruto-kun. I mean, most guys would brag about beating either me or Karabi-sensei, but you are truly a humble person. She said and lightly punches him in the shoulder. Thanks, say your sensei said to meet him in the open field, right? Naruto asked a female blonde who nodded. Awesome, let's meet him there. He turns around and Yugito jumps on his back, wrapping her arms around his neck and her legs around her waist before he takes off into the air with her squealing in joy. Meanwhile, Killer Bee was standing in the middle of the field with his arms folded waiting for Naruto before looking up and sees Naruto landing on the ground with a giggling Yugito on his back. That was awesome. Let's go again. An excited Nibi cheered while Yugito hopped off Naruto's back. Thanks for the lift, Naruto-kun, no matter how many times I go through this, I just love flying. The blonde Jinchuriki said in an excited tone. Naruto smiled back and then turned his attention to Bee. So Bee-san, you ready to rumble? Naruto asked, and his answer was the dark-skinned man grinning and getting into a wrestling stance. Bring it, Sarugaki. Killer Bee challenged and Naruto got into his fighting stance as well. The two stared off for a while, waiting for the first person to make the first move. Naruto shifts his feet and flexes his fingers while Bee did the same. Yugito watched the scene and could feel the pressure emitting from the air and couldn't help but feel excited about the battle that was about to start. Both fighters were focused, leaving no form of doubt in their eyes. The staring match ended when Bee grinned and the two suddenly vanished in a blur of speed. Yugito's eyes widened at what happened before hearing a collision occur. She saw both Naruto and Bee in a grappling match with each one trying to overpower the other with raw strength. Both were gritting their teeth as their muscles flexed from the battle of strength. Bee noticed that his heels were digging into the ground as Naruto started to slowly push him back. What the? He's actually pushing sensei back. A bewildered Yugito thought. Killer Bee grits his teeth as he tries to stop, but then he rears his head back. Hedo-bado, headbutt. He swung his head forward at Naruto, who reacted by letting go of Bee's hands and flipping over him, causing the man to miss and ends up getting struck in the back of the head by Naruto's foot. Said Saiyan flips in midair and lands back on the ground, while Killer Bee stumbled forward a few times before stopping and rubs the back of his head, turning his gaze at Naruto, who was in the same fighting stance, like the one Goku uses, with a smirk on his face. Looks like I landed the first hit, Naruto stated, getting a smirk from B. He held back on that kick. Had he added a little more force, I'd be in La La Land. The rapper thought before vanishing in a burst of speed. Naruto leaned backwards as B attempts to lariat him by surprise, and then he spins around in order to deliver a reversal roundhouse kick at the Saiyan's head, only for it to phase through Naruto. He raised a brow at this before he ducked as Naruto flies over him with a flying drop kick before landing back onto the ground again. Yugito was now wide-eyed at what happened. Whoa, earlier he moved at a level of speed so great, he left an after image and I didn't even see his body movement. She whispered to herself. He's so fast. I'll say, only your Uncle A was capable of moving at such speed, and the same went for the Yondaime Hokage Minato. After he passed on, A became known as the fastest ninja alive. Sure, B may have attained the speed to keep up with him, but A is still faster than him. Nibi explained to her vessel. But there is something different about him, something not of this world. She narrows her eyes in curiosity, wondering about Naruto's scent, which wasn't human at all, nor did he smell like a demon. Naruto then proceeded to sprint towards Killer B at an astonishing speed, surprising the man at how fast he was moving. He was about to meet Naruto's charge only for the teenager to phase through him again. What's with all the running, yo? Are we gonna get our fight on or run a marathon? He asked out loud as he looked around for Naruto, but stopped as he felt something land on top of his head. I'm up here, big guy. Naruto replied with a grin on his face. B's brow twitched due to the fact that Naruto was using his head as a stool. Not cool, yo, using my head as a stool. He shouted. B attempts to grab Naruto, who vanished once again and appeared in front of B's unprotected form with his arm beeped back and drove it into the man's torso. Yugito's eyes widened as she saw him land a blow on the Kumonin's frozen form with a focused look on his face. Bad move, Killer B-san, leaving yourself open like that. Naruto chastised in a serious voice while pulling his fist out. Well, B didn't show he was screaming out on the inside at the punch Naruto delivered, and the only show of reaction was a bead of sweat falling from his brow. Oh sweet Kami, that hurt. It feels like big bro just punched me in the gut just now, yo. He wailed in his mindscape. Stop your belly aching, B Hachibi chastised before snickering at the jab he used, much to B's irritation before getting serious. You should be thankful for your body's tolerance and durability level, because any other ninja, Jinchuriki or not, would have keeled over from a punch of that magnitude. Besides, the Gaki held back on that punch, and for a good reason. That doesn't make me feel any better, yo. My insides feel like jello and my bones are rattling, and last I checked they don't do that. He stopped his ranting on pondered on something before grinning. Maybe I should stop fooling around and show the Gaki the 8th sword. Hachibi on the other hand nods in agreement with B. I agree, we don't know the magnitude of this boy's power, especially if he was able to beat the vessel of the Sanbi so easily. The hybrid theorized. I would advise using version 2 of your cloak form if you want to at least land a decent hit on him. Filler grunted in agreement before exiting his mindscape. Right now he let out a breath of air while lightly patting his stomach from the punch Naruto delivered. I have to say, yo, that was a sweet move you did there. No one short for my brother has ever hit me that hard before. He praised before a serious expression formed on his face. Playtime's over, Naruto, you're about to get a first-hand experience against the 8th sword. Yugito gasps when she heard this and now was worried. He's gonna use that against Naruto. What is he thinking? He on the other hand grinned as a reddish-brown-like chakra started to form around his body. Get ready for the fight of your life, Gaki, because I'm about to release the 8th sword. He declared. Naruto watched as a chakra cloak erupted around the man who was grinning while 8 chakra tails swayed behind him. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt the chakra levels this man possessed. Whoa, he's even stronger than Yugura is in that form, and if his first version is this strong, he watched as the tails formed around him, turning into a dome of chakra before erupting into a burst of energy, and was now in his version 2 form. The version 2 chakra cloak is much darker than version 1 because in this form, B was more muscular and the chakra was reddish brown. 2 horns protruded from his head with a black face-like structure, and his eyes glow an eerie white color as did his mouth. Behold the 8th sword of the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Wee. Kurabi roared, releasing a shock wave so powerful that it scattered dust and rocks everywhere. Naruto brought an arm up in order to protect his face from the debris. Incredible, his roar alone is powerful enough to cause this much damage. I might have to use more power than I first thought. Naruto thought as the dust settled. Killer B raised his arms in the air for a few seconds before bringing them down hard. The ground underneath them started to rumble, resulting in a crater spreading outwards. Naruto looks down as he saw the earth under his feet cracks and leaps away as it rose up and exploded, revealing a pair of dark brown-red arms. Kairabi smirks in a creepy fashion as another arm sprouted from the right arm and descends toward him. Naruto lands on the ground and vanished as the extra arms hit the ground before it rises up again and tries to attack him in a repeated process. He then skids back while forming a yellow ball of Kai in his right hand as the hand descends towards him. Naruto throws the energy ball at the hand and when it made contact, a small explosion occurred, destroying the chakra arm. His senses went on high alert and dodged a horizontal slash to his chest and somersaults over Kurabi, who spins around and launches his 8 tails at the Saiyan. He evades several tail swipes and stabs with his impressive agility and reflexes before landing on the ground and leaping backward several feet, surprising B. "Don't think that running away will help you, Gaki," he stated before charging at Naruto. Naruto on the other hand smirks. "Who said I was running?" he said as he turned around and got into an odd stance. He sways his arms around his body while he produces a blue flame-like aura and then, he draws his hands out to his sides and closes them into fists as he crosses his arms on his chest. "Let's see how you handle this thunder flash attack." Naruto draws his fists together in front of him and fires a huge storm of flames at the transformed ninja. Yugito's eyes widen when she watches the attack travel through the field, scorching the earth and grass with the heat alone. Filler B skids to a halt with a gobsmacked expression on his face as he saw the attack come upon him and great accuracy. "Holy shit, too late to dodge or counter," he screamed before he was engulfed by the attack. The flames shot outwards around the area before dissipating and leaving waves of smoke that rose from the area the Shade's wearing wrapper was at. When it cleared, it revealed Kurabi who was sprawled out on the ground but with singes on his clothes and some burn marks on places like his arms, legs, etc. before his healing factor started to slowly heal him. Yugito's jaw hung downwards as she saw the damage the technique did not only to her uncle but to the surrounding area. "Whoa, what an attack," she whispered in awe while Nibi nodded in her mindscape in agreement. Naruto on the other hand was impressed and watched Killer B slowly get back on his feet while healing and whistled lowly. "Wow, this guy is resilient. From what I can tell his cloak took at least half of the damage from the technique sensei taught me. If it were the other way he'd be in serious trouble even with his Biju healing his body." He summarized though in reality Naruto actually held back a lot on that technique because he didn't really want to damage to forest that was at the edge of the field. Goku on the other hand was impressed with how Naruto was able to control the thunder flash technique he learned from Pikin to such a level, which proved that Naruto's control in his Kai has improved a lot since their training in the hyperbolic time chamber. He got up panting slightly from the attack with a smile on his face. Despite how the fight was going he helped but be thrilled to fight some who could actually make him fight more than he usually did. "The Gaki's awesome. No one short of my brother has ever made me go this far and that technique was off the chain. Were it not for version 2 I'd be in real pain. I can't believe he made you revert back in your current form with that technique. B, you're gonna need to fully transform if we want to actually get a decent hit on the tail Gaki, and whatever you do don't let him hit you with that move, otherwise you'll get roasted." Hachibi warned his vessel and got a mental nod from Killer B, who finally manages to fully heal. "Say no more 8-0 because the time for playing is over, yo," he cried out before turning his attention to Naruto who was blinking in confusion as the man pointed to him with a grin on his face. "Their victory I will negate, from his back 8 tentacles slowly sprouted out and enlarged, with my transformation I will eradicate." His body started to shift and ripple, before a cloud of smoke formed around my true transformation will be your plight as the power of the Hachibi will unleash its might. The smoke erupted outward and when it cleared, it revealed the true form of the Hachibi no Kaichik, 8-tailed Gaintox. The Biju had 4 long horns on its head, similar to that of a Jacob sheep. The lower left part of one of its horn was permanently sliced off in a battle with A and his father. It also has a muscular upper body structure, with a hunched back similar to an American bison, arms with spiked protrusions on the elbows, and hands with opposable thumbs like that of a human. It has no hind legs, but instead its lower half is made up of its tails, which consist of 8 tentacles that resemble the cephalopod arms of an octopus. Naruto gaped as he stared at the gargantuan form of the creature before him that snorted steam from its muzzle. It wasn't the size that got to him, it was the unbelievable amount of chakra this force of nature possessed. Kami. His chakra levels are unbelievable, the Sanbi doesn't even compare to this guy, he muttered before a smile filled with excitement and thrill formed on his lips. This might prove to be a challenge for me," Naruto said as his eyes shined in excitement. Yugito was on a rock texture and didn't look as thrilled as Naruto did. That baka, Uncle A warned him about transforming into his final form, but B would be the type to ignore his warnings, even if he used the iron claw on him. She turned her gaze to Naruto who was standing before the behemoth with a worried expression on his face. "Be careful Naruto-kun, I don't know how strong you really are, but in this form, sensei is unstoppable. Get ready for the thrashing of a lifetime Gaki. I'll send you packing and crying for the Shinigami." Wee. He bellowed before raising his arm up and swinging down at Naruto. Said Saiyan vanished in a burst of speed while the fist smashed into the ground and he appeared beside the beast's face with his fist reared back only to go sailing as a blur struck him from behind and sent him flying backwards in the air a few feet before stopping himself and rubs his back. "Oh man, that smarts," Naruto complained and shook the throbbing sensation off. "I guess those tentacles aren't for show after all. He's not only bigger but his speed isn't even affected at the least." But that Naruto flies at the transformed Killer Bee, who howled back and fires several globs of black ink with electricity arching around it, forcing Naruto to evade several of them and noticed the electricity. "Oh man, I better not get hit by any of those." Another one sails towards him and Naruto fires an energy blast. When they make contact they explode on collision. Naruto suddenly appears above Ichibi's head with an energy ball in his hand and fires it. The hybrid sees it and swats it to the side and Naruto uses the distraction to appear under its jaw and attempt to uppercut the beast in the jaw but had to dodge another tentacle that attempts to smash him into the ground and appears once more while another one attempts to hit him. Naruto maneuvers over it with his hands raised over his head with the palms facing the target and one hand in front of the other with the fingers going in opposite directions. "Masenko ha!" he cried out while thrusting his arms forward, releasing a yellow beam of energy. Ichibi brings an arm up and blocks it with one hand and grunts from the strength behind it. Naruto narrows his eyes and pushes more energy into the attack, making it slightly bigger. B grunts as he tries to stay his ground but feels himself getting pushed back from the attack and is forced to use both palms in order to stand his ground. The young Saiyan once again adds more power behind it and the beam grows in width. Grrrrrrrrr. B snorts in frustration as he felt himself getting pushed back even more. Wee. Using his newfound strength, he pushes his arms upwards, releasing the attack into the air where it explodes into a flash of light before disappearing. "Nice try, little money, but it'll take more than that to knock down the grade." He didn't get to finish his sentence because Naruto landed on his muzzle with a grin on his face. "There's light in your eyes," he called out. Naruto brought his hands close to the center of his face with the fingers spread toward his eyes. Solar flare. Suddenly a blinding white light flashes outwards and surrounds both Naruto and B. Yugito saw it spreading out and covers her face with her hands as the light shined brightly. When it dies down, B was clutching his eyes and howling in pain. My eyes. My eyes." He wailed out as he thrashed around with his tentacles smashing the ground and shaking the earth. "Hi-ah." Naruto descended from the air and delivers a bone-shattering axe kick that impacts with the beast's skull, putting him in a daze and stumbles. He then spins and hit him in the side of the jaw with a reversal roundhouse kick and B ends up spitting out saliva. Naruto then vanished and appeared next to one of the thrashing tentacles and grabs it. He then starts to rise into the air, pulling on the large appendage and starts to lift B into the air. Naruto grit his teeth and flies up even harder with his opponent. B on the other hand gets his vision back and realizes that he's rising in the air. "Yo 8-0, I didn't know you could fly, yo." This caused a tick mark to form on the hybrid's horned head. "Aka, I can't fly. The Gaki is lifting us into the air." Ichibi roared. The transformed beast snapped out of his stupor and realized that he was being lifted into the air by Naruto. It then stopped and his aura flared to life. He started to grunt slightly as he pulled back and started to spin the guy slowly around the air by his tentacle before the speed increased. As the pace increased, he ended up creating a twister around them for a while before swinging his opponent upward into the air, resulting in B flailing his arms and tentacle as he ascended into the air. "Ah Kami, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I'm going to throw up and then I'm gonna die," he cried out. Naruto then appeared over the flailing ninja. B looked up to see Naruto with his fist reared back and electricity arcing around his arm. "Oh, this is gonna hurt like hell," B muttered. Naruto then swung forward and delivered a powerful punch on B's jaw, causing the entire area around them to shake violently, while B went free falling down to the unforgiving ground at high speeds. As he made contact, dust erupted from the ground, forming in a mushroom-like shape and the entire area shook violently from the aftershock. Yugito was struggling to keep her footing as the earth shook underneath her feet and flailed her arms around frantically. "For goodness sake, can this get any more violent? If this keep up, they're gonna split the island apart," she yelled out before tripping and falling on the ground face first. This action caused Nibi to laugh her ass off at the action. "Shut up, it's not funny," she screamed mentally as she got up and rubbed her injured nose. As the dust settled down, Naruto descended downwards, landing on the ground softly while B was covered in rubble. "Man, I hope that fall didn't kill him. Maybe I went too high when I carried him off." He pondered until the ground started to rumble. Naruto turned his head in the direction where the 20-foot wide and deep crater was and B in his Biju form rose up roaring at the sky. "Raya," he bellowed before slamming his fists into the ground on the cracks. "Do you think I'll let you get away with that, brat? I'm gonna stomp a hole in your head for this. Grah. He opened his mouth widely, which got the attention of the Saiyan. Black chakra started to form into a large sphere before compressing into a smaller shape. As Yugito got back up, she felt a large amount of chakra being created and her eyes widened in horror. "No sensei, you're going too far," she whispered before looking around for cover. And the closest thing was a trench. She made a mad dash for it and dived into it. Naruto watched as his foe was gathering chakra in curiosity. "Naruto. Don't let that attack hit you. The power in that move is of the charts. Don't get caught in its range." Goku screamed to his student, whose eyes widened as the hybrid reared its head back. "Crap, I don't have enough time to get out of the range," he screamed as his foe shot his head forward. No choice. Naruto's golden aura flared to life as B fires a concentrated beam of energy which then engulfed the young Super Saiyan. The beam shot through the area before the beam widened and then an explosion occurred, erupting outwards, and the whole island was shaking violently. Yugito was curled up in the trench as the shaking rocked the island while a large cloud of dust rose in the air. Once it died down, the effect from the Amari, menacing ball, resulted in a wide and extremely deep trench, stretching outwards in a straight line, leading from the field to the forest area where a 40-foot wide and 20-foot deep crater formed with dust still rising from it. The blonde Kunoichi popped her head out of the trench she was behind and her eyes widened from the results and stared at the dust cloud rising from the forest area. "No, Naruto-kun," she trembled, fearing for the worst while tears brimmed around her eyes, praying that he wasn't dead. Nibi remained silent before her vessel, who was trembling before her senses picked something up and her eyes widened. "Hidden kitten. He's still alive," she shouted to her vessel, snapping Yugito out of her stupor. "He is? Where?" she asked a two-tailed cat and looked around. "In the dust cloud, he's alive and well," she assured the 14-year-old. "Focus your eyesight there." Her slit pupils dilated as she focused on the sight and saw a shadow figure in the dust cloud. It then cleared and revealed Naruto surrounded by some type of golden energy dome, with his arms crossed in an X formation. There didn't appear to be any damage aside from a few scratches and bruises, and aside from that his clothes were torn up. Half of his shirt was missing, and he had several holes and rips in his pants, but other than that there was no other serious damage. "He's alive, I'm gonna kick his ass for worrying me like that," she screamed mentally while Nibi chuckled. Meanwhile, Naruto uncrossed his arms and let out a sigh of relief. "Man, that was too close for comfort. It's a good thing I set this barrier up in the last second, because if I hadn't I'd be in real trouble," he commented as the barrier vanished. "I'll say, I can't tell you how many times I've cut it close in life or death situations. The worst I've been through was narrowly escaping an exploding planet," Goku said to his protege. "I think it's time to get a little payback. Let's see how he handles a super Kamehameha." Naruto's aura flared to life before getting into the stance. Kage gathers around Naruto's palms, but the difference in this one is that it was light blue and generated more light. He on the other hand snorts as he saw Naruto in the air over the large crater. So the Gaki survived after all. "That's good, otherwise Yugito-chan would have turned me into a scratching post, yeah." That was when he saw the blonde generating an odd light. "Hi-mii Haya." His aura rockets upwards as he added more energy into the attack before thrusting his hands forwards. "Hey Haya." He screamed out as he fired a powerful light blue beam of energy that was twice as large as a normal Kamehameha was released, emitting a glow around the area as it descended towards the transformed bee. He saw the glowing blue light descend towards him. As he looked at the blue light in awe, his eyes widened when he realized that it was an attack and its size rivaled the form of the hybrids. "Oh shit," was all he could say before the blast engulfed him and exploded into a blue dome of energy that covered his entire form. Naruto descends towards the smoking crater he created with the super Kamehameha wave that he fired at B in his Biju form. "Oh man, I think I overdid that a little. I was aiming to knock him out, not kill him," he said as he landed on the ground with a concerned look on his face and dashes towards the crater. "Don't worry Naruto, I can still feel B's life force as well as the Hachibi's." It would appear that his partner's form took most of the brute force from that attack. Goku assured his apprentice, who also sensed the man's energy signature and size in relief. He then hops into the crater and skids down the rocks before skidding to a halt. The smoke cleared, revealing B's tattered and smoking form, and the man was in a daze. "Now that attack was the shit," B said in a dazed tone, resulting in Naruto sweat dropping and chuckling. He then slowly helped Killer B up and hoists the man over his shoulder, rising into the air and out of the crater. As he left it, he carefully placed the wrapping Jinchuriki onto the ground and reaches into his sash for something. Yugito came running towards them and stops beside Naruto with a worried look on her face. "Is he gonna be okay?" she asked the young Super Saiyan and got a nod. "Yeah, he's just a little shaken up, Yugito-chan," he assured the girl, and he managed to pull out a bag that seemed to be filled with something. He shuffled his finger through the bag and pulls out a senzu bean. "I don't think a chakra pill is gonna help him," Yugito stated and received a chuckle from the blonde who inserted the bean into Killer Bee's mouth. What makes you think it is a chakra pill? Naruto asked. Yugito blinked a few times and was about to speak, but stopped when she heard her second uncle chow down on the bean and gulps it down. There a pause of silence for a few minutes until B's brows rose up and he instantly flips back on his feet with a grin on his face. Look like I caught my second wind and I feel like I can take on 1,000 men, oh yeah. B cried out, pumping his fist into the air. Yugito had a look of astonishment on her face and looks back at a grinning Naruto. How? Was all she could say to the young Saiyan. These aren't chakra pills, Yugito, they're beans, but they are a special and rare variety that possess special properties which restore a person's full strength and also heals any injuries they've gotten. He answered back as he put the sack back into his sash. Killer B on the other hand was inspecting the damage around the area and whistled lowly. Man, big bro is gonna flip when he sees this. He mumbled. Yeah, we did do quite a lot of damage on the field, huh? Naruto replied with a sheepish grin on his face. Quite. The place looks like a war zone. Yugito screamed in her mindscape. Glad that wasn't us because that attack would have done more than scorched my fur if it hit. Nibi informed her student. Speak for yourself, Madara. That attack hurt like a bitch. Hachibi roared telepathically to his fellow Biju. I've had my fair share of brutal attacks in the past, but that one takes the cake. I haven't been hit this hard since I got in that fight with Kurum, female Kyuubi's name people, 2 centuries ago. Suck it up, Jayuki, you only got your ass handed to you because you called her a bitch who needed to get her ego checked. She remarked with a snicker while the hybrid snorted and mumbled about hot-headed vixens needing attitude adjustments. Well, let's call it a day, grab some grub and hit the hay. B said, letting out a yawn and cracks his neck before heading into the direction of where his vacation home was. Yugito on the other hand sighs in annoyance and folds her arms over her chest. He can be such a pain sometimes. I'm surprised Uncle A hasn't killed him yet for his bad rapping. She remarked and got a chuckle from Naruto. True, but at least he's lively in some way or form. Plus normalcy is overrated anyway and I'm used to meeting people like B. I would bet my tail that somewhere out there is a super pervert, a lady who's a chronic drunk and sucks at gambling, and a guy with a creepy fetish for odd abilities and little boys. He stated, resulting in 3 legendary ninjas sneezing at the same time and the outcome being one was being beaten to death by women in the hot springs, the other winning the lottery, and the last person chuckling in an eerie fashion that sent shivers down everyone's spine. Goku and Shenron sweat drop from Naruto's odd prediction. Your future successor is an odd one, Goku, if only he knew how true his prediction was. The immortal dragon states, getting a nod of agreement from Goku. Anyway, let's head back, Yugito-chan. Naruto stated, and that was when she leapt onto his back, wrapping her arms around his neck and legs around his waist, grinning in an excited manner. He then took off into the air with his passenger screaming in delight and heading to the house, telling him to go faster. B looked up and dropped his jaw as he saw his niece on Naruto's back flying over him. That's not fair, the monkey can fly, but I'm grounded, I feel a tear coming to my eye. He whined before taking off like a blur across the field, leaving a trail of dust behind. B's vacation home. Naruto gently lands on the ground with Yugito on his back and she hops off his back with a giddy expression on her face. Killer B landed before them panting slightly and regains his breath. What I wouldn't give to fly, yo. He muttered before a grin formed on his face. Aside from that great match, Naruto, that was one hell of a thrash you gave me. I haven't in a situation like that since I faced the yellow flash. Naruto's brows rose up when he heard that. You fought against Minato Namikaze before. B nodded at his answer while folding his arms over his chest. Yeah, during the last war, and that guy was a pro in terms of speed, but from what I can see now I think you'd have him matched in that department, though I believe you were holding back when we spared. He noticed Naruto's eyes widening at the statement, but the man merely smirks. So you noticed, huh? Yeah, I did hold back, but mainly for your safety because believe it or not, I'm a lot stronger than I appear to be, since my bloodline trait enables to me to grow stronger every time I train or fight someone stronger than me. Naruto explained to them. But how do you keep it under control? Yugito asked curiously. Naruto responds by clapping his hands together, causing a golden aura outline to form around his body, and then several odd seals appeared around his arms, chest, torso, and legs. Gravity and suppression seals. I mainly use them as limiters to suppress my real strength so that I could enjoy fighting strong opponents. He answered to the vessel of Madara with a sheepish smile while the seals faded back into his body. Wow, so how much weight are you currently carrying on yourself? Yugito wondered, as did B. How much? Well, when I started training I wore a 20-ton turtle shell on my person since I was 7 and every now and then the weight was doubled. He answered, only to see their jaws drop to the ground and shoulders slump while Madara and Jayuki did the same. Say what? The 2 Biju screamed out. He was the first to snap out of his stupor and speak out. That's practically 200 tons you've been training in Tsurugaki. Did you train under Kami? The rapper questioned. And they say Uncle A was a trainaholic, but he's going nothing on Naruto-kun. Yugito thought with her vessel nodding in agreement while the teenage Saiyan rubs the back of his head sheepishly. Well kind of, he answered, getting a chuckle from both Goku and Shenron. So if I could ask B, does this island in peculiar have a connection with the Biju? B raised an eyebrow but nodded. Yes, due to some of the ruins that have the hieroglyphics of the Biju and their vessels. It explains that the vessel and the Biju must be incensed if they ever wish to unleash their true power, but to do so, one must face their inner darkness. One must face their inner darkness. Naruto repeated and pondered on the riddle. Any idea on this, sensei? Goku pondered on this too, rubbing his chin and thought at Yugito's explanation and what it meant. One must face their inner darkness. From what I would guess, I think she means face that part of you that's affiliated with negative emotions, such as anger, rage, envy, jealousy, hate, and other negative feelings which would manifest into a physical form based off these feelings. He explained to his apprentice. Naruto broke out of his thoughts and spoke up. So what you're saying, Yugi-chan, is that the person must defeat the part of them that represents their negative emotions, right? Yugito nodded positively at the teenage Saiyan's answer. So basically anyone can go through this trial even if they aren't vessels, right? Again she nodded at his answer. Yes, regular people can go through the trial since doing so isn't forbidden, but if you are weak-willed and your negative emotions take over, then she paused at her answer and a grim expression formed on her face. I see. Naruto thought about her explanation and wondered if he too had a darker side. He knew good and well everyone had a light and a dark side, since no one was born absolutely good or evil, but if the person's emotional spectrum suffers more on the negative side, it would drive them to their darker emotions. Are you thinking about using the falls, Naruto-kun? Yugito asks. Naruto nods and looks at her. Yeah, I am actually. I don't know how much my negative half will affect my psyche, but I don't want to take a chance of it getting the best of me later on in my journey, so yeah, I'll be using the falls. She stares at him for a little bit before sighing. Okay, but be careful, Naruto-kun. She asked with a concerned expression on her face, worried about the young Saiyan. Naruto smiles warmly at her and nods back. Don't worry, Yugi-chan, I'll be fine, I promise. He assured her. Aw, that is so cute, my little kitten is concerned about her boyfriend. Madara purred in her vessel's mindscape, causing Yugito's eyes to widen and a blush to form on her face. For Kami's sake, he's not my boyfriend, damn it. She roared at the two-tailed cat who meowed. Naruto noticed the blush on her face and smirked. Is a certain cat teasing you again? He asked and got a nod from her. I see, and just so you know, Yugi-chan, I like you too. Yugito blinked rapidly at his statement. Was the only thing that could come out of her before Naruto did something even more surprising. He leaned forward and gave her a peck on the cheek before saluting and zips into the house, leaving a stunned Yugito at the doorway. The blush on her face grew while she touched the cheek that Naruto kissed. He kissed me, Naruto-kun, kissed me. The gears in her head got back to working and a grin slowly spreads on her face. Madara giggles as she witnessed a chibi version of her vessel jump up and down, squealing in joy with hearts in her eyes. The next day. Falls of Truth. Naruto was standing in front of a large waterfall, listening as the water crashed against the rocks on the bottom, while a few fish were swimming into the mouth of the river that flowed downstream into the jungle. It's now or never. Naruto said before stepping onto the platform and sitting Indian-styled. Goku-sensei, Shenron-sensei, once I enter my mindscape I'm gonna have to ask you to not interfere. This is something I'll have to do alone. Goku nodded in agreement, as did Shenron, both being proud of how much Naruto has grown since his travels and knew that he was mentally ready to battle his inner darkness. We understand, Naruto, and I wish you luck. We'll move to a different section of your mindscape so that you won't be distracted. Good luck. The legendary hero said before the link between them was cut. Naruto stared at the waterfall intently and then closed his eyes in concentration in order to link himself to his mind. From afar, Yugito and B were watching from the edge of a cliff and said vessels each had serious yet concerned expressions on their faces, praying that their friend can succeed in conquering his dark side. Good luck, Naruto-kun. She thought while watching his still form. She felt a hand on her shoulder and looked up to see her uncle-sensei give a reassuring grin. Don't fret, little Yugi, the Tsurugaki will pull through and gain victory. Yugito says nothing but smiles as a form of thank you and turns her attention back at Naruto's still form, unaware that B's expression went grim. Kami help us if he fails, because there won't be a force on earth that will stop him should his darkness win. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes to see a replica of the waterfall and didn't sense his senseis in the area. He stands and faces the waterfall, narrowing his eyes as he watched a shadowed figure forms behind the waterfall. His eyes widened slightly and he witnessed the replica of himself appear to look similar to him, but with a difference being his facial appearance. The smug and arrogant smirk formed on his face, and his eyes screamed danger as they were more primal in appearance, and like Naruto his tail swayed behind him, with the last difference being the lining around his eyes were deeper, like Majin Vegeta's were. So this is my inner darkness, huh? Yes I am, and I was wondering when you would show yourself. Yami Naruto answered in a deeper tone that carried a hint of arrogance, causing Naruto's eyes to widen in surprise. Well, you can read my mind. Oh wait, that's right, we're the same person. He said in a sheepish manner. Yami Naruto scoffs at his lighter half's impudence. No kidding, clown, we are one and the same, with the only difference being that I'm the real you. He answered smugly while Naruto frowned. No, you're not. Naruto replied back to his darker half, who chuckled deeply. Of course I am the real one. I am the true representation of an ancient warrior race. One that was once known in the galaxy as the strongest to ever exist. Yami Naruto boasted. Wow, my darker half is delusional, he acts like that Vegeta guy Goku sensei talked about. Naruto thought. So you know the reason I'm here then? Yami Naruto nods. But of course, you're here to defeat me in order to overcome your inner darkness, but it won't happen because I intend to crush my weaker half, gain control of you, and bring our race back to greatness. He declared. Naruto on the other hand scowled at what his darker half planned on doing if he won. That's not gonna happen as long as I'm around. Yami Naruto simply mfetted his response and folded his arms in a fashion similar to Vegeta's when he faced Goku for the first time. Then it shouldn't take too long for me to end. Maybe after I win I'll deal with that idiot rapper, his village, and maybe get some action with that cute blonde, and then maybe pay a visit to that russet-haired broad, I believe her name is May, your harem as you call her. He said with a perverse grin on his face. Naruto's eyes flared up in anger. Like hell you will, because the only way you're getting to them is through me, and I'll be damned if I lose this fight. As he powers up, his hair rises and transforms into his Super Saiyan state. Yami Naruto simply grins at his other half, and much to Naruto's surprise, he transforms into a Super Saiyan. Why so shocked? I possess the same abilities as you do. Why, Naruto states, getting a smirk from Naruto. I should have known better, but it doesn't change anything, I'm still going to beat you. He declared before getting into the Kame stance, Goku's fighting stance. Yami Naruto on the other hand smirks and gets into his own stance, Vegeta's stance when he first faced Goku. We'll see. Why, Naruto replied back. The two opposites had a stare-off, waiting for the other to make the first move. Why, Naruto flexes his hands a few times with a smirk still plastered on his face, ready to drive his so-called weaker half into the pavement. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 Ost Battle Theme number 11. Naruto suddenly vanished in a burst of speed, as did Y Naruto in the surrounding area for a few seconds before what sounded like a sonic boom echoed throughout the forest. Several more sonic booms echoed throughout the sky before Naruto and Y Naruto appeared with their forearms clashing against the other, pausing for a few seconds before they each unleashed an onslaught of punches and kick that appeared like blurs to the naked eye. The force behind their moves caused a strong breeze to brush trees back, as well as other forms of debris to fly in different directions, the water in the river to rise up, and the rock textures to crumble into piles of rubble. The assault continued for a few seconds until Naruto slipped into Y Naruto's defense and delivers an elbow uppercut into his chin, making his head jerk back in surprise. He recovers quickly and returns the hit with a right hook to Naruto's jaw. The two once again vanished, moving at speeds that would make Minato Namikaze look slow in comparison, releasing shockwaves around the area. When they appeared again, Y Naruto is struck in the jaw by a high kick but retaliates by striking Naruto in the jaw with another right hook, and Naruto finished by driving a vicious low punch directly into the gut of his darker half. Ah! Y Naruto hunches over and coughs from the punch, while Naruto takes this opportunity to strike him in the face with a right haymaker that sent him plummeting into the forest. As he crashed, dust kicked up into the air with Naruto descending downwards to his opponent. His eyes widened as a yellow Kai blast headed towards him, stopping in midair and vanishes as the blast sailed past him. He appears on top of a rock structure watching the attack explode and disperse until his senses flared up. Naruto turns around and sees another Kai blast that was bigger than the last one he for him and once again blurs away as it destroys the rock texture. He hops backwards a few times against the rocky terrain before taking to the air as Y Naruto appears in a stance his other half was familiar with. Y Naruto crouches down, curls his fingers and places both his hands together at chest level, facing the same direction, so that the palm of one hand is on the back of the other. Light purple orb forms in his hand and hums to life as he gathered the energy for it. Naruto pauses in the air and brings his arms back with a blue orb gathering around his cupped hands. Take this. Gallic gun. Y Naruto thrusts his hands forward and fires a fuchsia-colored Kai beam upwards. Kamehameha. Naruto calls out and fires a Kamehameha wave downwards. The blue and purple beams descended towards one another and clashed, forming a blue and fuchsia-colored dome in the center that slowly expanded. A power struggle occurred as the two Super Saiyans pushed more energy into their attacks, making the dome of energy grow even more. It couldn't contain its form, and it erupted into an explosion of energy. The force behind it sent debris everywhere and also sent Naruto flying backwards and crashed into the side of a rock texture and bounced off it. Ah! He cried out pain, unaware that why Naruto appeared behind him grinning and strikes him in the back with a backhand. Naruto descends to the ground and crashes, sliding to the end of another rock texture. He gets up on one knee while Naruto ascends towards him, grinning in a feral manner. Naruto hops back as the Dark Saiyan hits the ground with a Kai-enhanced punch, causing a crater to form, and looks up to see Naruto backflipping through the terrain. Naruto pulls his hand out of the crater and takes off after Naruto. Said Saiyan plants his feet onto the edge of a cliff and bounces off, flying towards Naruto, performing a dropkick as did the darker half. Their attacks clashed, hitting them both directly under the jaw, and the two were wide-eyed. They separated and both landed on the ground opposite from one another with their hair and clothes ruffling in the wind and had a stare off. The two remained silent for a while until Naruto spoke up. "Impressive, I guess you're as weak as I thought," he remarked, getting a smirk from Naruto. "Funny, I could say the same to you." The smirk on his face disappeared and was replaced with a serious one, "But if it's alright with you, I'd like to skip the warm-up and get this over with." Naruto grinned in a feral manner and nods in agreement. "My thoughts exactly." Naruto's face crunches up in concentration and his muscles bulge a little, resulting in his aura flaring up. Veins throbbed around his biceps, neck and temple as his power increased. He crossed his arms as his hair spiked up even more. Gra. The golden aura around Naruto flared up in an even more wild-like fashion, releasing a higher frequency sound-wise with a lightning aura arching around his body. His hair was even a deeper gold color and spiked up even more in a wild-like fashion, with a few bangs hanging down, similar to Gohan's hairstyle, but with two bangs with one being slightly shorter than the other. His muscle mass was a little more pronounced but not overly so. His skin tone was a lighter color as well as his clothes due to the increased energy output from the golden aura. His facial features grew more sharper and fiercer, with his eyes being sharper and more primal in appearance. Naruto's eyes widened in awe as he saw his other half ascend to Super Saiyan 2 and then snaps out of it. "Impressive, but anything you can do." Raises his arms up while gathering a huge amount of energy and releases it as he brings them down, ascending to Super Saiyan 2 as well. "I can do as well," he declared. Now it was Naruto's eyes who widened in astonishment. "You too?" Naruto questioned and his darker half snorted in annoyance. "I told you this before, idiot. I have the same abilities as you, including the transformations you've obtained from training in the time chamber," he stated. "Now enough stalling, let's get started." The two opposites dashed towards each other with their fists reared back and swing forward. When their fists collided, the force behind them emitted a shockwave so powerful that the ground underneath them couldn't handle the pressure and cratered under their form. The rock textures rumbled and a few collapsed under the force. Song ends. Meanwhile, outside of the actual waterfall of truth, Naruto meditative form was in the Super Saiyan 2 state, and the effects of the transformation resulted in the ground rumbling violently, the water rising, and the birds in the forest flew due to the trees leaning backwards and shaking. Both B and Yugito were using their chakra to remain rooted onto the ground, covering their eyes with their arms, in order to keep the debris out of their eyes. Unfortunately, the shockwave Naruto released from his form caused Yugito to lose her focus on her footing and was almost sent flying backwards, but a tentacle shoots out of his back and catches her in its coil. "Don't fret, little Nii, Uncle B won't let go of thee," he assured his niece. "If I wasn't afraid of taking a one-way flight off the island right now, I'd be using him as a scratching post," she thought, and she was pulled towards him but ended up getting hit upside the head by a flying rock. "Itachi," she cried out while Madatabi cringed. "Ooh, that gonna leave a mark." Goku vs Android 19 theme. Brah. Naruto rushes at his foe and swings a left and right hook at Naruto, who was forced to evade them both before the Dark Saiyan unleashed a flurry of punches that made him block or evade while moving backward. Before he had a chance to recover, Naruto drove a knee strike into Naruto's stomach, causing him to gasp out in pain and hunch over. Naruto raises his right arm up and delivers an elbow strike to his back and sends Naruto falling towards the ground. Said Saiyan falls on all fours and slowly get up and leaps right back into the air to avoid getting drop-kicked into a crater caused by Naruto, who looks up at Naruto's retreating form before flying out of the rubble and stops in front of his other half before attempting to hit him with another knee strike that Naruto blocks with his own knee. Naruto growls before smirking at his foe while red static emits around them. "What's wrong? I thought you said we were going to skip the warm-up," he questioned, and Naruto smirks back. "Sorry, force of habit." Naruto apologized before they backed off and lunged at each other again. Naruto swings a right hook, but Naruto catches it. He attempts to do the same with his and gets caught by his other half as well. They both growl as their arms interlocked and then deliver a series of simultaneous knee strikes. As the attacks continued, Naruto takes this opportunity to deliver a headbutt right into Naruto's face. He cried out and releases the darker warrior from the grapple, holding his throbbing head with Naruto, taking this opportunity to attack him with a series of left and right hooks into his torso. Naruto coughs up spit while Naruto grins as he continued with the assault. Naruto recovers quickly and catches the fists, much to the surprise of Naruto. He gets him in the lower jaw with 2 knee strikes, stunning him and finishes it off with a high knee strike to the temple and sends him flying and crashing into the edge of a cliff. The embedded Dark Saiyan grits his teeth and opens his eyes to see Naruto float towards him. "Grrr, that's more like it," he growled. He crosses his hands and pulls them back, freeing himself from the edge by releasing a burst of invisible Kai and left a near circular shape in the cliff. They both breathe heavily as they floated close to each other and stop when they're nearly nose to nose and have a stare-off. Their aura slowly hums to life and flares around them with static emitting around their forms. "Why?" Naruto snarls in a challenging fashion while Naruto smiles back. The darker half frowns but returns the same grin since they were both starting to get serious and both let out a battle cry. They release their aura in a bright golden flash and continue the match with a series of punches and kick while in the air. They paused in their assault with their fists reared back and swung forward, delivering a bone-crushing blow to their jaws and their heads snapped back at the same time. Naruto recovers faster than his opposite and unleashes a series of punches upon Naruto's stomach and flares up his aura as he continued on with the attack. He then hits with a right hook across the jaw, knees him hard in the gut and then delivers a reverse elbow strike into his neck. Yami grins at the fact that he was gaining the upper hand but his eyes widened when Naruto grabbed his leg and swung him around for several and threw him to the ground. Naruto flips and lands on his feet and looks up only to see Naruto gone. "What the?" He wondered before his senses went off and turns his head to the left and instantly blocks a right punch with his forearms courtesy of Naruto, who then pushes him back with a flurry of rapid punches. Naruto had some trouble blocking and evading some of the punches that got through his defense as Naruto went on the attack. He pulled back and delivers a mid-kick into Naruto's torso, making his eyes bug out. Naruto smirks at the successful hit and pulls back again, channeling some Kai into his fist in order to deliver a powerful blow. Naruto senses the power behind the physical attack and when Naruto swings his fist forward, he vanishes in a burst of speed. Naruto curses as Naruto appears behind him and smirks. The teenage Saiyan freezes on the spot as his darker half aimed both palms at his chest with a ball of yellow Kai and fires. A flash of yellow forms around the area as Naruto was sent flying into a rock texture and a blazing explosion occurs. Naruto stays floating in midair, waiting for the dust clear. When it does, a hole is revealed in the rocky wall and there was no sign of Naruto, but he knew better than to believe he defeated his other half with an attack as weak as that. He watched intently for any sign on his foe and his eyes widened as he saw a ball of Kai hums to life, revealing Naruto's form and he fires a Kai blast at his darker half. He retaliates and fires a Kai blast at his opponent. The energy blasts descend towards the other and once they clash, a dome of energy forms at the colliding blasts. Naruto rises out of the hole pushing Kai into the colliding energy techniques and continued to push forward until he was close to the dome. Yellow static surges through as they push more power into their attacks. Naruto grits his teeth as he continued to push forward and add more energy, as did Naruto. "Oh no you don't. I will not allow you to come out victorious," he swore as he pushed more energy into his move. Naruto does the same, resulting in the dome growing and glowing like a miniature sun. The two warriors both let out a battle cry as the dome of energy was now the size of a Kage tower, covering the entire area before erupting into an explosion so great that the entire area was coated in a golden light. Song ends. When the flash cleared, the entire area was in ruins. Rubble and chunks of rock scattered, trees were uprooted, and smoke rose from the debris. Dangling from a cliff was Naruto, and from his appearance his outfit was ripped and torn in several places and was sporting cuts and bruises, bleeding slightly around his arms, legs, chest, and parts of his face. "Groans, man, I never would have thought that my dark side could be so vicious. I feel like I just fought through an army of Biju," he muttered before he felt himself being pulled up from over the edge and is now face to face with Naruto, who was also sporting the same amount of damage as his opposite, but the difference was that he was smiling in a calm yet dangerous way and was holding him up by the wrist. The Dark Saiyan stood up over the edge with Naruto still in his grasp smirking. He then spun around and threw Naruto over his shoulder and into a wall of rock. Naruto cries out in pain as he hit the wall hard enough to be embedded and leave an imprint around his form. Why Naruto brings his right arm forward, extending his index and middle finger out, and fired 5 rings of energy at Naruto's trapped form. They bind his wrists ankles, and the last one binds him around the throat and closes up slightly, making Naruto release a choking sound. He vanishes and appears before his trapped brother with a smug expression. "What's the matter? Not winning as easily as you thought you would?" He taunted at Naruto's, who was glaring back at him. "I never said this would be." Naruto chokes out, getting a snort from his other half. "HMPH, you don't get it, do you? You're not gonna be winning at all," he remarked, and then slaps him twice across the face with a forehand and backhand, resulting in Naruto growling in an angry fashion. Why Naruto returns the expression, baring his canines. "What team? Are you pissed off at feeling trapped and humiliated by your better half?" "You're not my better half." Naruto snapped back, only to gasp out in pain as why Naruto drove his knee into the Saiyan's stomach. "Yes, I am. I am the real you," he declared, and punches him in the jaw. "You?" Hits him with a left hook. Hits him with a right jab. Nothing. Hits him with another left jab. But a fake. He unleashes an onslaught of punches and knee strikes to the face, chest, and torso of Naruto simultaneously until Naruto coughs up blood and he stops the assault. "Look at you, the last of our kin, the legacy of a mighty race of warriors that brought fear to our enemies, reduced to a soft-hearted idealistic fool by his master." Why Naruto spat at the ground in disgust. "You have done nothing but play the role of hero to bunch of insignificant insects who could care less if you lived or died, and it makes me sick to see you act the way you do." The dark expression formed on his face as he stared at the fallen form of his other half. "No more. I will not allow you to continue this charade any longer. The time has come for me to take my rightful place as the king of this body. I will not allow myself to be hindered by the beliefs of a dead man. Your days are over, every breath you take is an insult to my honor and pride as a warrior." He brings him hand up and wraps it around Naruto's throat. "I will break you, Naruto, I will crush you until you are nothing but a memory, and then I will do what you failed to do. I will bring our people back to glory, I will destroy anyone that gets in my way, and if I'm feeling generous, I might even spare some of the people you care about, especially that girl Yugito, May, and maybe even your sister and mother." A perverse smile takes form on his face. "I might consider keeping them as slaves and convince them to help me revive the Saiyan race once I've conquered this mudball of a planet." Naruto's eyes snapped open when he heard this and snarls in a primal fashion. His muscles flex up as he attempts to pull himself out of his prison, much to why Naruto's shock and disbelief. Grah. His aura flares to life and he breaks out of the prison, forcing why Naruto to move back from the power input. "Congratulations, my dark half, you've officially pissed me off." His aura grew and released a shockwave so powerful that it sent dust and wind flying everywhere. "You can threaten me all you like, but when you threaten the lives of those I care about, then all bets are off," he roared. Why Naruto got a good look into his other half's eyes and realized that they no longer held the same compassion and fearlessness. Now they expressed nothing but primal rage and fury, and now knew that Naruto was out to destroy him, to crush him until he was nothing but dust in the wind. The bead of sweat dropped from his brow as he now understood that he just freed the beast from his cage and he was its current target. "Something tells me that I've just pushed my luck." The Itsuki, son of the late Sandai Raikage, current Yondai Raikage of Kumagakure no Sado, and fastest man alive after the death of Minato Namikaze, was sitting in his chair, doing a series of arm curl-ups with a massive dumbbell that would appear to be difficult to lift for a normal man, but then he wasn't exactly normal. He was a tall, dark-skinned man with a large muscular build, with his blonde hair in the combed back, a small mustache and beard. His face is very distinguished with pronounced cheekbones and tear troughs under his eyes, and a prominent crease across his forehead. He has pointed canines, and his top lip also has a darker hue than the bottom one. Unlike other Kage, seems to wear his Kage Haori and hat on a regular basis without a shirt underneath, further displaying his hulking physique. He has black Fma shuriken tattoos on both shoulders, and around his wrists and forearms were a pair of gold bangle bracelets, which each have protrusions that can jut out when he attacks an opponent. The rest of his outfit consisted of a pair of black pants, shin guards, sandals, and a gold belt around his waist, with a boar's face engraved in the center. He had pretty much spent the day doing a series of light exercises, since all of his paperwork was completed, but from the expression on his face, the man was bored as hell, especially since he had his brother take their niece Yugito to Turtle Island to work on communicating and training with her Biju like B did, and was inwardly wishing for something to happen that needed his direct attention. The door to his office was forced open by a jonin who was panting heavily before his leader. "What is the meaning of this?" it demanded in a low, gruff voice. The Kumo jonin regained his breath and bowed his head to the massive man. "My apologies, Raikage Dono, but there's something you must see atop of the tower," he informed the man. He raised an eyebrow and blinked a few times at his subordinate before sighing. Very well. He said and shunshuns up to the rooftop along with the Jonin to see what the fuss is about. Raikage Tower rooftop. The stood on the roof along with the Jonin and his two guards. Derry and C. Derry is a fairly tall, dark-skinned man with a slightly bulbous nose, a lazy look in his eyes and shaggy white hair which covers his left eye. He wears a high-collared, sleeveless uniform with loose-fitting pants, bandages on his wrists, and the one strap over one shoulder flak jacket of a Kumagakure shinobi. Derry also has stylized characters for water, fire, and lightning divided by tattooed on his right and left shoulders respectively, denoting his chakra's nature affinities, water release and lightning release, as well as the fact that he has a Kage Genkai, the storm release. 3. The tattoo on his left arm also signifies that he has inherited the third Raikage's black lightning. He carries a broad foldable cleaver-like sword, strapped to his back. C is a young man with short blonde hair and dark eyes. He wears a sleeveless black shirt with a one strap over one shoulder white flak jacket, forehead protector, black elbow-length arm guards, and the red and white Kumagakure shin guards, along with a pair of sandals. I was just about to ask them what the problem was until he saw something that made his eyes widen. Far away from their location was a pillar of golden light with what looked like lightning coursing around it. Hovering over the top of it was a large black cloud the size of an continent with lightning cackling underneath it, and the group can hear thunder booming from it. What in the name of Kami is that? I asked no one particular. We don't know, sir, this occurred not too long ago. The energy level that pillar of light is emitting is off the charts. C answered. I'm talking Biju level reading if not higher. A's eyes widened when he heard that. Higher than a Biju? The only beings with a higher level of power would be the gods themselves. His eyes widened even more when he realized that his brother and niece were on the island and possibly in the middle of the energy output. Okami B and Yugito-chan are possibly in the middle of that. What do you want to do, boss? Derry asked his leader. Gather several Anbu and meet me at the docks. Whatever is on that island cannot be good if it can emit a level of power from this far, yet for some reason it feels familiar, like it has occurred before but at a higher level. He pondered before order his men back to their stations and have his two guards gather up the Anbu. But Naruto. Naruto rushes at his darker half with his left arm reared back, ready to deliver a bone-crushing punch to his skull, but gets struck in the face with a right hook and sent flying backwards with a Dark Saiyan in hot pursuit. He had his right foot reared back and prepared to drive it into Naruto's chest, only for his brother to recover, flare his Kai and counters with a right hook and strikes him across the jaw. Why Naruto cries out as his body jerked back from the vicious punch, resulting in spit and blood flying out of his mouth. As he recovered, they each traded blows that were so intense that it sounded like thunder was booming across the area, and then the duo went on an onslaught that shook the land. Dust rose all around the battlefield, and the ground underneath their airborne forms rumbled while flashes of electricity coursed around their blazing auras. Several rock textures explode from the force behind the knee strike. Naruto attempted to strike the side of Naruto's skull, but he shrugs it off and swings a diagonal punch that Naruto dodges, releasing a force so great that it creates a 30-foot wide trench, reducing everything in its path into nothing. Yami Naruto looks around for his opponent in the dust-filled area, but his senses alerted his to danger and dodges to the left as an energy blast passes by his face, only to get a lariat into the chest by Naruto, who only goes flying back for a few seconds due to Naruto grabbing him around the ankles and spins him around several times before releasing him. Naruto vanishes in a burst of speed as Naruto went sailing across the landscape via the air and then appears with his right leg reared back as his darker half descended towards him. Yeah. Naruto swung his leg out only for Naruto to phase out, surprising the young Saiyan. Suddenly pain erupted from his back as Naruto drove his elbow into Naruto's spine and the young Saiyan cries out in agony. His screams were cut off when Yami Naruto interlocked his arms around the stunned warrior. They both vanished and appeared in the air where the Dark Saiyan directed their forms to the ground, flared his aura, and they descended to the ground at top speed. What's the matter, clown? He taunted as they headed to the hardened ground. The impact resulted in an earth-shattering crash that shook the entire area and causing dust to rise up around the area. Naruto grits his teeth as he staggered back onto his feet, but Naruto delivers a flying headbutt directly into his forehead and sent Naruto sliding across the ground. Yami Naruto brings his hands together and fires a Kai blast at his lighter half, who flips back on his feet and leaps to the side as the blast hit the area he was formerly at. Why? Naruto swings his arm in the direction and fires another Kai blast at his foe. He grins viciously as he saw the blast hit Naruto and caused a miniature explosion, and then leaps forward with his right arm outstretched backwards in a stabbing position. Die. He cried out as he was about run his hand through his weaker half, but then his senses kicked in and he skidded to a halt into the air due to the dust clearing and not seeing Naruto in the crater. I've got to say, you've got a few tricks up your sleeve, brother. Why Naruto growled and turned his head to see Naruto standing on a slab of rock with his arms folded and his aura flaring to life, smirking as he stared down at his other half. But then so do I. Waterfalls of truth. Lightning rained from the blackened sky, the winds blew hard enough to rip trees from their roots, and the ground rumbled violently due to the energy output Naruto's meditative state was releasing. Said Saiyan was floating mid-air in a dome of golden energy with lightning-like energy arching around him. Ah, this is insane. Yugito screamed as she clung onto her uncle's back with her clawed hands. Hey. Easy with the claws, kitty. B shouted as his clung onto a large boulder that was embedded into the ground, though he was unaware that the force of the wind was loosening the large rock from its position until it started to wobble. He looked at the ground and his brows rose in dread and a bead of sweat fell from his face. Oh shit, he muttered. Yugito Nii. Yeah? She asked her uncle. Hang on tight to me. He cried out as the boulder flew free from its spot with Yugito and B on it, flying across the forest from the gust of wind. Ah. Yugito screamed as they descended into the forest. Naruto's mindscape. Hey ah. Yami Naruto bellowed as he swung his head forward and clashed with Naruto's. Both opposite halves were engaged in a grappling match with their auras flaring wildly as they both reared their heads back and slammed them together, releasing a sonic boom that echoed around the battlefield. They performed this attack pattern several more times before stopping, snarling at each other as they tried to break the grapple hold. Bioelectricity buzzed around their forms as their aura flared even more. Naruto and Yami Naruto break their hold and leap back, dispersing their energy, and the Dark Saiyan reacts first by swinging a high kick which Naruto blocks with his forearm and counters with a left hook. Naruto dodges to the left, placing both hands on the ground and kicks both feet towards Naruto's chin. He evades it and takes this opportunity to drives his right knee into his darker half's torso and sends him sailing mid-air until he manages to adjust his body and flips his legs over, landing on solid ground. As he tries to regain his breath, Naruto dashes towards his form. Naruto vanishes and appears under the Saiyan's running form and knocks him off balance with a sweep kick. Naruto curses as he falls towards the ground but catches himself and flips forward while Naruto rushes at him and attempts to strike him across the jaw with another right hook. The attack fails as Naruto catches the move and counters with a palm strike to the face, making stumble back as his quarry goes around him, grabs him around the waist, lifting them up into the air, and slams him into the rocky ground with a German suplex. Naruto cries out from the impact and then Naruto brings him back up for another, but the other half break out of the hold with an elbow strike to face, stunning the young Super Saiyan while he flips over and strikes him across the head with a reverse roundhouse kick. He grins at the successful hit and tries with a secondary one, but Naruto catches it in both hands, surprising his darker half. He pushes back and knocks his other foot off balance, grabs him around the face and slams him into the ground, only to get kicked in the chest and skids back clutching his chest while his other half flips back on his feet. The two warriors each pant heavily as they stare each other down. Neither looked ready to give up as too much was at stake. For Naruto it was the safety of those he cared about and the world, and for Yami Naruto, it was to purge himself of his compassionate side and emotions, gaining freedom and restoring the reputation of his race. The darker half's panting slowly turned into a tired laugh. Feels good doesn't it? He questioned his lighter half. Unleashing all that rage in the midst of a battle, the feel of adrenaline pumping through your veins. The thrill of facing stronger opponents. Does it not excite you? Naruto remained silent as he saw the smirk on his darker half's face. You can deny it all you want, but you are a Saiyan. A warrior bred for battle. Fighting is in your blood just as it is our ancestors. That may be so, but my sensei fought to protect others and not for his own gain. I won't deny it, I love to fight powerful opponents, but I don't let my thrill for battle dissuade my reasons for getting stronger. Our race's drive for battle and mayhem nearly caused them to go extinct and I don't intend to take the route. Naruto declared. Naruto on the other hand scowls. And that's what makes you weak. EBZ theme. Gohan vs Tabura IV theme. No, it's what makes me stronger. Naruto yelled back before Naruto roars in fury and his aura flares to life. Naruto does the same thing and gets ready for another fight. The duo vanish in a burst of speed until a series of sonic booms echo through the area. The two opposites each unleash a series of punches and kicks that looked like a series of blur that either met their mark, were blocked, or evaded. The onslaught continued until they both crashed into a mountainside, causing chunks of rocks and dust to rise up and the duo take off, moving like blurs across the battlefield. Sonic booms echoed throughout the landscape and random environmental textures were demolished. Two golden blurs dashed towards each other and clashed, releasing a burst of golden-laced wind and electricity that shook the land. Naruto and Naruto's fists collided from the impact and they continued with the assault. Naruto managed to deliver a kick into his opponent's torso, but Naruto stood tall from the vicious move and countered with a skull-splitting headbutt before vanishing again and zipping across the battlefield simultaneously. They appeared once again, unleashing a series of punches and kicks, but Naruto was doing more defending as Yami didn't let down in his attack. The darker half grins in triumph as he broke through Naruto's defense and assaulted his face with countless punches, as well as his chest and torso, in order not to give Naruto a chance to counter or gain distance. You see? You emotions can't beat me, a weakling can't beat me. You can't. He laughs gleefully as his victory was at hand. He stopped the barrage of punches, brings his leg back, and swings it sideways to Naruto's torso. The Saiyan on the other hand dodges the swing, catches the appendage, and twists it with enough force to nearly rip the hole off from the knee. Why? Naruto cries out in agony as his lighter side twisted his leg harder and reacts by using his other leg and strikes him with a boot to the face and then delivers a right hook to the jaw, sending Naruto flying backwards and crashing through several rock textures. Why Naruto takes off after him, intent on wiping him out, but from the dust an energy blast shoots towards him. He moves to the left as the blast bypasses his face, only for Naruto to appear over him with his elbow raised and brings it down in his darker half-spinal column. Why Naruto cries out as he descends towards the ground and crashes, creating a 20-foot wide crater with him face first into it. Naruto appeared hovering over his opponent's down form and watches him slowly get up and snarl. "Ah, you're so annoying, why won't you just give up and accept I'm better than you?" he questioned. Naruto tilted his head to spit out some saliva mixed with blood and stares down at his foe. Why Naruto's Kai flares to life and takes off like a rocket towards the blonde. Once he got close enough he swung his fist at Naruto's face and the lighter half caught it in his palm. Why Naruto's eyes widened in surprise as his hand was caught with little effort. "What's this?" "He caught my punch." "But how? We should be evenly matched considering we both exerted a lot of power." He growls and attempts to strike him in the face with his left fist, but Naruto caught that one too. Again why Naruto was shocked beyond belief and attempted to pull his hands from his other half's grip but couldn't. "Grrr, let go fool." Why Naruto demanded as he tried to free himself. Naruto kept a calm expression on his face as he increased his grip and their auras flared to life. The struggle continued until why Naruto broke one hand free and attempts to deliver a haymaker, but Naruto blurs away. Huh? He vanished. Why Naruto looked around in every direction for his opponent. A whistle was heard and he turned to the source to see Naruto standing on a platform with his arms folded. "Looking for me?" Naruto called out with a hint of amusement in his eyes. Why Naruto's brow twitched and he fires a Kai blast in Naruto's direction and smirks when it explodes. When the dust cleared it revealed Naruto standing there not the least bit affected by the attack. Then theme. Naruto yawns and tilts his head to the side, cracking his neck a little, much to Yami's annoyance. "Is that all you've got?" Once again, why Naruto snarled in anger and charges towards Naruto with the intent to destroy him. He threw a right hook at Naruto and growled when he tilted his head to the side and attempted to swing a kick at his side, but his other half stopped it by using his knee to block it. He then started to unleash a series of punches and kicks Naruto easily evades or weaves around, smirking as the mixed attacks missed him and pissing his darker half off. "Hold still, damn it." Why Naruto yells as he increases the speed of his assault and Naruto simply avoided all of them before using a series of blocks with his arms as they moved downwards. Why Naruto backs off and fires another Kai blast which Naruto bats away with a knife backhand and then descends to the ground as his darker half goes after him. The Dark Saiyan swings his fist forward but his foe vanishes, causing him to yell out in frustration. "Stop running away and fight me, coward." Why Naruto bellowed as he looked for his opponent but feels something tap him on the shoulder, so he turns around only to be met with a fist to the face and sent sailing across the land and crashing into the wall of a cliff. He cries out in pain before pulling himself out. Sneaky little bastard. His Kai flares up and he starts to unleash a barrage of energy blast around the area, destroying several rock textures and scorching the land. The entire area lit up like the 4th of July as he continued with his onslaught, hoping to catch Naruto in the blasts. After a few minutes the attack receded and the sky cleared up, leaving why Naruto to pant heavily as he wasted too much energy in the attack. "Wow, nice light show," a voice said behind him. Naruto was behind his darker half, hovering in the sky with his arms folded. Why Naruto turned around shocked beyond imagination. How did you avoid that?" The Dark Saiyan questioned with anger laced in his voice. "Well, for one thing your aim of way off," why Naruto growled at the jab, "and two, during the fight I realized something." "And what would that be?" "The whole time I've been fighting you in my mindscape we were fighting on even grounds, but then something came to me," a grin that unnerved why Naruto formed on his face and before the other half knew it, Naruto's injuries healed up and his clothes returned back to normal. This is my mindscape and my power varies on my imagination. You're just manifestation of my negative energy, my dark side, and the Saiyan part of me. Get to the point. Why Naruto yells out. Sure, but first an outline of red aura takes form around his body before flaring up into a crimson red energy that turned his skin red and darkened his clothes Super Kaioken. The blazing aura's flare increased and red lighting arched around it just like his Super Saiyan 2 form. Veins pulsed around his biceps, fists, neck and around his temple as the power output grew stronger. Why Naruto trembled in disbelief as he felt his other half's power increase to unbelievable proportions. This can't be. It can because in my mind my abilities have no limits and now it's time for me to end this. He vanished in a burst of crimson and why. Naruto cried out in pain as Naruto struck him in the ribs with an elbow strike and sent him flying over the landscape. As he sailed downwards, Naruto appears underneath him with his arm curled up to his chest and his fist clenched and performs a Kai-enhanced uppercut into his foe's spin. Why Naruto goes flying upwards into the sky with Naruto following behind. The Dark Saiyan spin around and throws a punch only to hit an after image and look up to see Naruto soaring upwards across the sky. He throws a Kai blast in hopes of hitting him, but Naruto vanishes and appears once again, knocking him backwards with a flying kick across the face. Yami goes flying backwards once again and this time crashes into a small mountain, leaving a human-sized hole into it. Naruto deactivates the technique and looks into the area his other half landed. The ground started to rumble and the mountain starts to crack until it exploded into a flash of light, revealing the beaten form of Y. Naruto roaring in absolute fury while remains of the mountain fell around him. He snarls in rage, glaring at his foe with every ounce of hatred in his body. Blood leaked down from his forehead and around the opposite sides of his nose. I'll kill you, I swear, if it's the last thing I do I will kill you. Naruto charges up the Super Kaioken again and dashes towards Yami who swung a right hook at him, but Naruto blurs past his and delivers a reversal roundhouse kick to his back. He flies forward, but Yami stops in his tracks and dashes towards him, channeling violet-colored Kai around his fist and swings it at Naruto's skull, but he ducks and delivers a left uppercut right into Yami's torso. The blow echoes around the area as Yami stood there trembling in pain as the fist buried into his gut. He then clutched his stomach in pain, hunched forward and walking backwards before vomiting out blood and falling to his knees. A blue light hits his vision and he slowly looks up to see Naruto in the Kamehameha stance. No, not like this. Hami his Super Saiyan 2 aura flares to life as he channels more power into the attack and then thrusts his cupped hands forward. Yami Naruto sported horrified expression as the light blue beam engulfed him and was sent sailing across the mountains, demolishing anything in its path before a blue dome of energy formed outwards and exploded, rocking the entire area and releasing a powerful shockwave. It died down, revealing an extremely wide and deep trench that traveled to where a mountain once was. He senses his other half's life force weakening and heads over there. When he gets there he finds Yami in it. He was sprawled out under some rubble, beaten, bloody, and down for the count in his basic form. Naruto descended down towards him and plants his feet firmly on the ground. Yami opened his good eye and stares at his lighter and supposedly weaker half in contempt but still smiled weakly. Looks like you win, he mumbled before coughing out weakly as Naruto continued to stare down at him. Don't look at me like that, just finish me off, I accept my fate. He closed his eyes waiting for the inevitable. No. Yami's eye snapped open as he heard this. By destroying you I deny who I am and that would be an insult to my master and the other Saiyans. Why? Was all the darker half could say. You fight for self-preservation, I fight for the sake of others. My reasons were stronger than yours and that is why you lost. Yami continued to stare at him wondering what Naruto was thinking. Why do you go so far for others knowing they won't do the same for you? Why are you willing to give others a second chance, knowing when the opportunity arises they'll get back at you and if not, then those you love? You can't save everyone from themselves, they choose to be who they want to be and will crush anyone who get in their way. This world is nothing but chaos caused by power-hungry fools. You should know that better than anyone after what happened years ago. What makes you think you can change them? Naruto pondered on his darker half's words for a bit before speaking up. I can't. They must be willing to do so on their own and if not. If not what? Then I'll put an end to them right then and there without hesitation. Naruto finishes with determination. Yami looks into his eyes to see any doubt and simply smirks. Spoken like a true warrior, now then, it's time. Yami struggles to bring his bloody right arm up and held it out towards Naruto. He glances at the hand and back at Yami who nods in agreement and he brings his hand forward. Once he grips it, Yami's body glows white and starts to merge with Naruto until a flash of bright light enveloped the area. Waterfall of truth. Naruto's meditative form returns to the basic transformation, resulting in the thundering sky clearing, the violent winds receding, and the ravaging ocean to calm. The sun shines down on the desolated island and Naruto slowly opens his eyes. Man, that was wild. He mumbled, but then sweat dropped to see the condition of his surroundings before realized that Yugito and B were in the area during his fight with his darker half. Oh no, I hope they're alright. With that he took off and began to search the area for his two friends, hoping that they weren't hurt too badly. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.